This video is the copyright of VLS Saguru Training Institute, Bangalore. All data and information contained in this e-learning video is confidential and proprietary information of VLS Saguru Training Institute. This video access is offered with a trust on every student. We hope student reciprocates the trust by ensuring video access is not misutilized. This video e-learning module is for exclusive and personal use of the individual that purchased this module from VLS Saguru Institute. VLS Aguru Institute licenses this module for personal use only, and any other use is prohibited, which includes recording, distributing, sharing, or any other training purpose. And any violations of this agreement will result in legal action.
Hi everyone. In this video lecture, we will discuss about forced silicon validation. We will start this discussion with ASIC design and development life cycle, in which we will see stage of forced silicon validation as part of ASIC life cycle. Then we will discuss importance of forced silicon validation and various categories in forced silicon validation and skill set required for it. And we'll conclude this discussion with challenges and career opportunities that are there in forced silicon validation. The goal of VLSI industry is to bring quality semiconductor products to the market. Quality semiconductor product means which can meet customers' requirement in a cost-effective way. The semiconductor product may be either ASIC or SOC or FPGA or any integrated circuit. ASIC or SOC design and development stage is a multi-stage process as shown in the figure. It has lot of stages from design to verification, physical design and forced silicon validation. Majorly it is divided into three stages: front-end, back-end and forced silicon. In this, design and verification comes under front-end, physical design and physical verification comes under back-end, forced silicon validation and ATE testing comes under forced silicon phase. ASIC design life cycle starts with system specifications. This is the stage at which we define what are the important parameters of the product that we are planning to design. Typically, specifications are derived from customers or end users' requirement. Generally, project marketing team and chip architects collectively define the overall goals and high-level specifications of the system. Once system specifications are done and they are clear, system design team starts designing the product. It includes RTL design and synthesis. RTL design converts system specifications into VHDL or Verilog code. Synthesis converts RTL into a netlist. In general, there will be phases in RTL design, something like P0, P1, P2, P3. P0 RTL release will have very few basic implementations of the product. P0 is released to verification team to verify in parallel, and of course to pre-silicon validation team also. Then phase 1 release will have more implementations than P0 and some bug fixes that are found by verification team or pre-silicon validation team on P0 release, and so on. So P3 will have complete implementations of the product. Verification is the process of ensuring that a design meets its specifications or not. The goal of verification is to find bugs early and fast. Verification process is very critical as part of product design and development life cycle. As any serious bugs in the design not discovered before tape out can lead to increasing the overall cost of the design process. Verification provides excellent controllability and observability because any internal signal can be viewed and accessed. So debugging is efficient and faster. The biggest problem is performance in verification. The average simulation performance is perhaps in kilohertz. So the pre-silicon validation on FPGAs, because of performance problem in verification and to better verify the logic of the design. Most of the VLSI companies do have pre-silicon validation platforms on FPGA. The objective of doing pre-silicon validation on FPGA is to find any bugs in the design before tape out and get maximum verification coverage at faster speed. In this, RTL is ported onto FPGAs to verify logic. The main advantage of validating design on FPGAs are logical bugs can be caught. FPGAs run at megahertz frequencies, so better coverage can be achieved in terms of more stress tests can be covered on FPGA platforms in limited time. And also software of the product can also be developed quite early than the silicon arrives to the lab. So software also can be verified on FPGA platforms. Once the RTL is freeze and netlist is delivered to the PD team, so physical design team starts physically placing the standard cells and macros. In this stage, the gate level netlist is converted to a complete physical geometric representation. Physical design has three stages: floor planning, placement and routing. Once physical design is done, physical verification verifies the design. Once after the physical design, the design is delivered to the fab to manufacture the chip. So this is called tape out. The sample or first chips are manufactured in the fab are called prototypes or pre-production chips. Prototypes are the first silicons in the lab for bring up and validation. So post silicon validation is the stage after the initial chip tape out and before the final release of the product into the market. The goal is to ensure whether silicon operates and behaves correctly under actual operating conditions without any failure before releasing the silicon to the market. If there are any major bugs caught in this stage, then again another revision of the product needs to be designed with proper fix. So, ATE testing, it stands for automatic test equipment. It is a production or manufacturing testing. It tests the manufacturing chips using some vectors provided by DFT team. Silicon fabs do produce ICs, but some of them may have defects and failures, and these chips need to be screened before shipping out to the market. So this screening is done by ATE testing. And also software can be executed on targeted silicon to check there are no issues with silicon while running software on it. Once the silicon is found bug-free and it is working as expected in real scenarios, then mass production can be started. For volume shipment to the customer. So this is a complete ASIC design life cycle. Now onwards, we will discuss more about forced silicon validation and its importance and challenges. As we have seen, forced silicon validation is a stage after the silicon chip tape out and before the final release of the product to the market. It is the last step in the development of a semiconductor IC. Forced silicon validation is used to check the design correctness, or in other words, it verifies whether design meets the intent or requirement. Goal is to find bugs on silicon before releasing the product to the market. During the pre-silicon process, engineers test devices in a virtual environment with sophisticated simulation and emulation and formal verification tools. In contrast, forced silicon validation is done on actual devices running at targeted speeds using some test patterns, softwares, or logic analyzers and oscilloscopes. Printed circuit boards are used for silicon validation and bring up. It is also called development board or validation board. Simply put silicon onto specially designed PCBs which has test points something like this and peripherals and sensors, and systematically test all the features on the chip. As shown in the figure, the actual silicon will be sitting on this board, and there are a lot of debug points and some external peripheral interfaces also. The silicon validation board looks something like this. Validation process takes lot of efforts and time. Few months, approximately 3 to 4 months, depends on the silicon complexity, and it is done only on early prototype silicons. Debugging the chip is very hard and challenging due to poor visibility of the internal signals that are there inside the chip. All the internal signals are not exposed on the I/O because of pin limitations. The goal of forced silicon validation of a chip is to ensure that fabricated or pre-production silicon operates correctly under actual operating conditions without any failure. It is the first hardware prototype device that is being extensively tested on to find any potential bugs. If any potential bug escape in this stage and caught by the customer after shipping volume silicons, then it is going to be huge loss and goodwill that you are going to lose with potential customers. So forced silicon validation is very important and targeted for finding bugs on silicon before shipping silicons to the customers. Silicon needs to be validated thoroughly. Since the simulation and emulation speed is very slow, there is always the possibility to find a bug in forced silicon validation. For example, throughput, the simulation throughput in verification is in terms of kilohertz, and on the emulation in terms of megahertz, and on the silicon in terms of gigahertz, and it will be targeted frequency. Bugs can be found using the real-time operation of manufacturing chips using real-world stimulus. Bugs fixed through multiple rounds of silicon steppings called tape-outs. There are various categories for silicon validation. Typically, SoC or ASIC will be having many IPs. So here it determines whether internal logic or internal logic of the subsystem or IP behaves correctly or not. So functional validation of an IP is an area in forced silicon validation. So the IPs typically will be DDR or USB or PCI Express. So these all called IPs or subsystems. So this is an area in forced silicon validation. And also there is another area called system level validation. Basically here running complete targeted application software on a chip. So in this all IPs subsystems are active and running simultaneously. And the goal here is to find if there are any bugs at system level when all the blocks are running. Most of the SoC designs have PCI Express and USB interfaces which are running at gigahertz speed using physical layer called SERDA serializer on deserializer. So signal integrity needs to be verified for such high speed signals since signal quality degrades at higher frequencies when it is traveling from one point to other point. So very high bandwidth oscilloscopes and various other instruments are used for this validation. So as shown in the figure, assume that this is US PCI Express interface and this is board under test, and this is SERDAS port validation tester. So basically this is a tester and this is the DUT. So tester pumps some data and gets looped back in the DUT and received by the tester. So in this way the transmitter signal characterization can be verified. And also there is another area called analog IP validation. This is again another area in PSV. Majorly here ADC, DAGs, PLL and LDO are validated. And PVT characterization. Silicon is required to be validated over process, voltage and temperature variations. PVT validation tests silicon with different process variation at voltage and temperature extremes to stress the device. The intention of PVT is to run validation content to find logic bugs that may be introduced due to process variations, voltage and temperature variations. The following skill set are required for PSV. SOC or ASIC architecture knowledge. One has to have good understanding of specifications and system architecture to validate system thoroughly without any bugs. And also processor and controller knowledge. Typically ARM, because almost all silicon designs have one or more processors or controllers in it. And also following protocols are important to know for SOC validations, like low speed peripherals or protocols like I2C, SPI, JTAG and UART, and high speed protocols like PCI Express, USB, Ethernet and SATA. And also DDR is very important in the SOC. And also bus protocols like HI, HB and ABB. Analog IP knowledge is important for analog validation, like SERDAS, ADCs, DAC, PLL and LDO. While validating SERDAS, one has to know internal blocks of the SERDAS like serializer, deserializer, how they work, the 8B to 10B encoding, and also clock and data recovery units and so on. And also following programming skills are must for PSV engineer. Strong knowledge in embedded C, assembly level programming for processor validation, scripting for automating the test cases, typically Tcl, Perl and LabVIEW. One has to know lab instruments uses. These are used for debugging silicon if there are any issues. So typical instruments knowledge required are oscilloscope, logic analyzer, power supply, function generator and protocol analyzer. Debugging skills are most important to localize the issues on silicon and providing some sort of fix or workaround. Now the PCB board schematic understandings are required. Generally PCB is used to validate silicon. Sometimes PCB might be having issues, so one needs to understand board schematics to debug the board and related issues. Validation engineer has to imagine all the possible use cases that the product will have or will face in real application and make sure that those use cases in the test code and run that on the silicon. Bugs should not be escaped here. All use cases has to be covered in for silicon validation. A, a fundamental challenge in forced silicon validation is limited observability you have and controllability due to limitations in the number of output pins. Still, you need to understand what is happening inside the chip when we are stuck at some issues on the silicon. And you will see intermittent bugs on the silicon because of process variations. They occur at irregular intervals, not continuous or steady. For example, the intermittent issues may happen on small pods or first process pod. So very difficult to debug such issues. And also localizing the issues and providing workaround is very challenging in for silicon validation because limited observability and controllability. So understanding the complete use cases thoroughly and clearly and has to develop test content accordingly. It's again a challenge. Without missing any use case, one has to develop test content. And product should be bug free. Then only the company can make success in the market, which is making this forced silicon validation as the most challenging and important process of the development. Forced silicon validation should have the ability to hit all corner cases for the product. The career opportunities in forced silicon validation. All semiconductor companies have forced silicon validation team. Example, Intel, ST Microelectronics, AMD, Qualcomm and so on. In general, almost all VLSI product companies consist of 15 to 20% of forced silicon validation engineers. It indicates that there is always scope of 15 to 20 of percentage of VLSI jobs in forced silicon validation and related profile. The percentage of time invested on product product development by major teams are as shown. 30% of time is invested by design team, 35% of time is invested by verification team, and 20% of time is invested by forced silicon validation. So average percentage of split of work by various groups in typical VLSI company as shown here in this table. For example, system specifications. They spend around they take care, they do around 11% of work. RTL design and physical design, the percentage of work goes to here is 31%. RTL verification and physical verification 33%, and forced silicon validation and ATE 24%. So we have big scope here for forced silicon validation. PSP is very important stage in ASIC life cycle. PSP gives greater confidence on the product before releasing to the market. Since product verification is done at real environment at targeted speed. As SOC complexity and technology are improving, and shown in figure, the cost invested for PSP is almost 50% of what actually invested for verification. And it is getting multiplied by getting multiplied by 4 with respect to process node as shown. So there is a great scope in PSP. Thank you.